The forest path glowed with the last trace of sunset. A warm orange shimmer hugged the edges of the tall pines. A cool breeze slid between the branches and brushed against our necks. I walked beside Aiden, my closest friend since childhood. We carried our backpacks tightly as if they were shields. The deeper we went, the quieter the forest became. Even the birds seemed to hold their voice. The smell of wet moss grew stronger with every step. It clung to our senses like a heavy blanket. Aiden nudged me gently and pointed toward the narrow trail that split away from the main path. The trail looked untouched, as if it waited for us and only us. We exchanged a look that needed no words. Curiosity had always been our greatest weakness. And also the reason we were called unstoppable. We stepped onto the hidden trail. The ground felt softer here, almost too soft, as if something moved beneath it. The air shifted and became colder. A faint metallic scent floated in the wind. My heartbeat quickened without a clear reason. Aiden whispered that he felt as if someone watched us. I felt it too. The hairs on my arms lifted in perfect sync with my growing fear. We kept walking until the trees around us changed shape. Their trunks grew thinner. Their branches stretched unnaturally long, bending toward the path like reaching fingers. A sound echoed in the distance. It was not an animal. It was not the wind. It was something slow, something steady, something that dragged across the forest floor. A cold ripple ran through my chest. Aiden gripped my arm. His voice trembled for the first time that night. He told me to look behind us. I turned slowly. My mouth warmed with the taste of fear. My hands shook without permission. And that was when I saw it. A shadow stood at the start of the trail. Tall, still, watching us with a presence that felt alive even from a distance. My breath froze in my throat. The forest fell silent as if everything waited for its next move. The shadow did not move. It simply remained in its place as if it had grown from the darkness itself. Its outline was tall enough to merge with the branches above it. Its shape was human but wrong in subtle ways that became clearer the longer I looked. Aiden grabbed my wrist with a force that surprised me. I felt his pulse racing beneath his skin. He whispered that we needed to move forward and not backward. He said the thing behind us looked as if it waited for us to take a single step toward it. The wind circled us and carried a faint whisper that did not belong to either of us. The voice sounded thin and stretched as if it had traveled a long distance. It brushed against my ear like a cold fingertip. The whisper repeated a name. My name. My legs weakened, and I fought the urge to run blindly into the trees. Aiden pulled me forward, urging me to stay close. The shadow remained behind but its presence did not fade. It felt as if invisible eyes continued to follow us between the twisted branches. The trail narrowed further until only one of us could walk at a time. The ground became uneven and dipped into strange hollows formed by roots that curled like frozen snakes. I stepped carefully, but every movement felt too loud in the suffocating silence. A sudden crack shattered the air. A branch broke somewhere behind us. The sound was sharp and violent as if something had stomped on it deliberately. Aiden turned for a heartbeat, and I saw fear flicker in his expression. He reached out and pushed me ahead. He told me to keep moving. The forest felt alive and aware of every breath we took. The trees were so close that the bark scraped my shoulders. Their branches leaned inward and darkened the trail even though the sky still held a faint glow. The air smelled heavier now, filled with damp earth and something metallic that stung my nose. The whisper returned, closer this time, clearer. It called my name again, but now it sounded as if the voice belonged to someone I once knew. Someone who should not be here. A tremor rushed through my arms. I felt sweat forming on my palms. My breathing lost its rhythm and came in uneven bursts. Aiden placed a steadying hand on my back. He said he heard it too. He said the voice sounded familiar to him as well. We pushed deeper into the forest. The path suddenly opened into a small clearing. The ground was flat and covered with leaves that looked recently disturbed. As if someone had walked in circles again and again until the earth gave up its shape. In the center of the clearing stood an object that did not belong in the forest. A wooden sign, old, weathered, barely holding itself together. There were letters carved into it. Faded, uneven, almost impossible to read in the dim light. I stepped closer, drawn by a mix of fear and curiosity. The letters slowly took form as my eyes adjusted. They spelled out two names. My name, and Aiden's name. My chest tightened. The forest seemed to inhale around us. Aiden stared at the sign with disbelief. His jaw clenched and his breathing turned shallow. He asked how something like this could exist here. He asked who could have carved it. Before I could speak, another sound emerged behind us. Not a branch this time. Not a footstep. It was the echo of slow breathing. Steady, deep, patient. The shadow had followed us. It stood at the entrance of the clearing. Closer than before. Its shape clearer. Its presence heavier. The air thickened as if the forest itself pressed against our lungs. Aiden grabbed my arm and pulled me behind him. His stance widened as if he prepared to protect both of us. My mind raced with questions that had no answers. Why were our names on the sign? Why did the voice know us? Why did the shadow wait and follow? The clearing darkened even more although no cloud covered the sky. The ground felt colder beneath my feet. The leaves shifted slightly as if something crawled under them. The whisper came again. This time it did not call my name. It said a single sentence. It said we were late. The breath inside my lungs froze. Aiden looked at me with confusion mixed with fear he tried to hide. We both stepped back instinctively. The shadow took a step forward for the first time. Its foot touched the leaf-covered ground and the leaves around it wilted instantly. A rush of cold swept across the clearing. My vision blurred at the edges for a moment. A feeling of deep discomfort wrapped around my chest like a tightening rope. Then something unexpected happened. The candle-sized fireflies that hovered above the clearing suddenly dimmed. Their lights flickered as if they feared the shadow too. A low hum vibrated through the air. The sound felt familiar in a strange way, like a memory I had almost forgotten. Aiden whispered that something else was here with us. Something besides the shadow. Something hidden beneath the ground or between the trees. Something that felt older than the forest itself. The sign in the center began to tremble. The wood creaked softly as if responding to an unseen pull. The letters of our names glowed faintly, lighting the clearing with a pale shimmer. My heartbeat thudded in my ears. Aiden reached for my hand. His voice quivered as he told me not to let go. Because whatever waited for us in this forest had just begun to reveal itself. And the shadow was no longer the only thing watching us. The glowing letters on the wooden sign pulsed softly. The clearing shimmered as if the forest held its breath. Aiden tightened his grip on my hand. His fear mixed with determination, and I felt the same strength rising inside me. The shadow stepped closer. Its form shifted slightly, revealing long arms that swayed with unnatural grace. Its presence pressed against our chests like a heavy weight. The voice whispered again and said that our arrival had been expected. A cold wave rolled through the clearing. The leaves curled inward. The branches leaned toward the center as if drawn by an invisible pull. A ring of faint light formed around the sign, circling our names with quiet energy. Aiden and I exchanged a look of silent agreement. We had walked into the unknown together. We would face this ending the same way. Side by side, I stepped toward the sign. The ground trembled lightly beneath my feet. The letters glowed brighter when I reached out my hand. The moment my fingers touched the wood, a warm surge pulsed through my arm. The shadow froze. Its body flickered like smoke in a shifting breeze. It stretched its arm toward us but stopped as if held back by an unseen boundary. A gentle voice rose from the clearing. It was not the whisper that had called us earlier. This voice carried warmth and calm. It said that the forest had waited for two hearts brave enough to walk its forgotten path. Light expanded from the sign and filled the entire clearing. The heavy cold lifted from the air. The trees relaxed the twisted posture. The fireflies brightened again and hovered in gentle circles. The shadow faded backward. Its form dissolved into thin strands of darkness that drifted into the trees. The oppressive weight that once surrounded us slipped away. The forest breathed freely again. Aiden let out a long and steady breath. I felt my heartbeat slow to a calmer rhythm. The warmth from the sign faded, leaving the wood ordinary and still. The letters of our names returned to their faint carved state. A soft path opened behind us, lit by the fireflies as if they wished to guide us home. The trail looked different now. Welcoming, peaceful, alive in a way that no longer felt threatening. Aiden placed his hand on my shoulder and smiled with relief. He said we had done what the forest needed. He said our courage had pushed back whatever darkness had lingered here. We walked toward the glowing trail. The tall trees parted gently as we passed. The cool air carried a cleaner scent, filled with pine and fresh soil. Every step away from the clearing made the night feel lighter. When we finally reached the familiar main path, the forest behind us grew quiet once more. Not silent in fear, but calm in rest. As if it watched over us with gratitude instead of hunger. Aiden looked back one last time. I did the same. The hidden trail faded from sight, blending again into the trees as if it had never existed. But we knew the truth. The forest had tested us. It had called for us. And it had released us only because we faced the darkness together. We continued walking toward the soft glow of the distant town. Our steps were slow, steady, and filled with the shared understanding of what we had survived. The night sky opened above us with countless stars. The wind carried a gentle whisper that no longer sounded frightening. It sounded like farewell, and perhaps gratitude. Aiden nudged me playfully once the fear had melted away. He said that even the darkest path could not stop us. He said that unstoppable had always been the right word for our friendship. I smiled and felt a warmth settle in my chest. Because despite everything we faced in that forest, we walked out stronger. Together, and the adventure that had almost broken us became the one that would define us for the rest of our lives.